Good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the EJC for inviting me here to share in your celebration today. I did spend most of yesterday getting soaked to the skin on the streets of London to celebrate the anniversary of our Queen, and I can promise you that this is much more my cup of tea. For the last few years, The Economist has felt like a fairly safe place to view what's going on in the industry, to watch our colleagues in the British and the American media struggle with the demands of the digital age. Unlike so many of them, we are doing fairly well. Indeed, our circulation has been growing for about 30 years, and indeed in the last 10 years it has particularly accelerated. So, I would like to talk in fairly practical terms about our experience, and rather than talk more about the trends that are pulling apart news organisations, about which we've heard so much about, I'd like to talk a little bit about the trends that we hope will see news organisations succeed in the next few years. And I think there are two reasons in particular to be cheerful. The first is that as there is ever more information available to readers, the role of a source of trusted analysis becomes, I believe, ever more important. And that's the role that The Economist and other magazines and newspapers like us fulfill. We have a thing about finishability at The Economist. I don't know how many of you would consider our magazine finishable. I must admit that I rarely finish it myself. But we do think that readers do, even with the web all around them, want a package which is complete, that they can go to tell them roughly what they need to know that week to stay informed. And of course, if they want to know more about any of the subjects, the web and various other news organisations will tell them that. The other reason to be cheerful is that, at least for organisations that specialise in very intelligent content, is that far from dumbing down in the age of the internet, we think that the world is getting smarter. This is an age that values intelligence in a way that very few have done before. And once you spot this trend, you start noticing it everywhere. You certainly see it in business. We no longer venerate the tub-thumping salesmen, CEOs of our past. Instead, we look up to people like Mark Zuckerberg, who are a bit more cerebral, dare I say it, a bit more geeky. And I think you see it in popular culture as well. No longer do people flock to the cinema to see Sylvester Stallone in Rambo. These days, our action hero of choice is somebody like Jason Bourne, who knows something about everything, even if he's not entirely sure what his name is. And more than that, what we're seeing is the barriers between the people who used to the people who used to digest primarily niche content and the people who used to enjoy primarily mass media content collapsing. So one example of this is a couple of years ago, The Sun, which is a major British broadsheet tabloid, very popular and very sensational paper, block booked the opening night of Don Giovanni at London's Royal Opera House for its readers. It filled the auditorium with 2,000 of The Sun's readers. That's the kind of sort of cross-cultural promotion that was unthinkable only a few years before. So if The Economist and newspapers like us once had to cater for very niche audiences, I think our potential readership is now enormous. And in taking advantage of this opportunity, one of The Economist's greatest strengths is that almost all of the magazine's readers are subscribers. The large majority of our revenue is generated from subscriptions and not from advertising. So we firmly believe that people will continue to pay, if not for quality news, then certainly for quality analysis. And we think that this is true no matter on what platform that analysis is delivered. Let's talk a bit about our website, for example. We've, over the last few years, experimented with a wide variety of paywalls. We had paywalls from quite some time ago. And in the last 2, we've settled on a model that seems to work well for us. This is a metered paywall in which readers are able to view, I think it's around 5 articles a week before the paywall kicks in, after which they're encouraged to subscribe for a bundle of content, which includes the weekly magazine. It also includes our website, and it includes our apps, of which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Now, just because we have a conservative attitude to monetizing our content doesn't mean that the content itself needs to be conservative. One of the greatest drivers of traffic to our website is the enthusiasm with which our print journalists have taken to blogging in the last year. There's now about 25 blogs on our site, and all the content is produced by the same people who write for our magazine. And that has enabled the magazine's website, despite the paywall, to increase its traffic year on year. Indeed, this year our unique users are up around 40% on the year before, and our number of subscribers is increasing as well. And just as we're not conservative with the approach to the content that we put up there, nor are we conservative in the ways that we are searching for new readers. Social media in particular has been a massive success for us. It might seem strange that a company as old as ours should work so well in the social world, but I think for many people who read The Economist, there has always been a sense of being part of a community and something that people want to shout about. Ezra Klein, who writes for The Washington Post, put this quite well not too long ago. He wrote that carrying a copy of The Economist is a bit like wearing a shirt that says, "I'm smart and worldly and interested in knowing things about Ghana." That might be a bit of a backhanded compliment, but I do think that that's true. And that ability, that desire of people to badge themselves as readers of The Economist and to tell other people about it is one of the things that's really supercharged our social media efforts. So we have about 1 million people who follow us on Facebook. We now have around 2.5 million on Twitter, and about 10% of the traffic to our website is generated from those sources. More importantly than that, but less quantifiably, is that through social media we are reaching the kind of readers who would never have dreamt of coming to our website of their own accord, and the kind of readers that we weren't able cost-effectively to reach through our marketing before. And just as we're not conservative in acquiring readers, we're not conservative in retaining them. An important part of retaining people who come to our site is the community work in which I'm intimately involved. The Economist has this mission statement that came from its very first issue 160 years ago, that the magazine was founded to take part in a severe contest between ignorance and intelligence. And it's fairly clear to me that these days some of the most severe contests are happening on the web, in community forums, in blogs, and it's those contests in which we should be taking part, and indeed it's in those contests that we should in fact be convening. I think I should talk a little bit about our apps as well. Our website is profitable and it is growing, and it is a great source of new readers. But I think we know that if our print circulation was to decline in the same way that has happened to many of our rivals, our business would not be able to survive to the extent that it does today. That's one of the reasons why we're so excited about the rise of tablets and see that as an important future for our business. It's hard for us to argue that home laptops, work desktops, even mobile phones are necessarily the best way for people to be consuming our long-form, our in-depth journalism. One of the reasons that The Economist is published on a Friday is so that people can take it home. They can digest it at length and in their own way, preferably supine in their living room or in a coffee shop. And it does seem to us like tablets seem to be a better way for us to transition what we call this immersive lean-back experience into the digital age. Andrew Sullivan in the Sunday Times has a good quote about this. He wrote, "I have gradually become used to dividing my reading into two zones, the work, laptop, info zone, and the chill, relaxing, leisurely read of the tablet." Now, from the year or so that our apps have been up and running, we've certainly seen our readers using them in much the same way. If people come to our website for only a few minutes each time, if they don't hang around for very long, they don't often come back, people spend 2 hours a week with our apps. These are the kinds of statistics that we have previously seen only with paper, and they convince us that in the digital age, our readers are not going to have any shorter attention spans that they have at the moment. Another exciting thing that we've discovered from apps is that the ease, the convenience of reading and indeed of subscribing to The Economist on a tablet device means that we are increasing our readership through them. It's not simply a case of people who are print subscribers deciding that they don't want to print anymore. Only 12% of the people using our apps are lapsed print subscribers. 77% of them are people who never had a subscription before. So like social media, tablets are helping us reach a brand new audience. And this is one of the reasons why we think that our circulation is going to continue to grow. At some point in the not too distant future, we do expect the number of Economist readers who choose to receive a printed magazine to decrease. We're on about 1.6 million subscribers now, and I think there are many people who think that that might be our print peak. But we have every reason to expect that the total number of subscribers who receive a paid version of The Economist in whatever platform they choose to increase. That growth in digital, especially through our apps, is what's going to help us to reach our next circulation milestone of 2 million copies. So just to close then, our CEO is often asked why he thinks The Economist is doing so well when so many are not. His answer, and I think I agree with him, is that in many ways we've been lucky. We were lucky that our first edition 160 years ago included several articles about globalization. We're lucky that in the last few years that has become such a potent and obvious power in people's lives. We're certainly lucky that we write in English, that has become a global language, and much of our growth has come from overseas sales. And you could even say that we're lucky that in the last few years the economic climate has made more and more people, more and more intelligent and curious people, realize the incredible power that finance and economics has over every aspect of their daily lives. And we think that with the right strategy for us and for many other magazines and newspapers who deal in the same kinds of content, the move to the digital age, whether that's on a website with an interactive experience or on an app in an immersive lean-back experience, can be just the latest part of our good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.